Headquarters of the Xianming sect, Absolute Love Mountain. A group of people with panicked expressions are frantically running down. It's all fake, all of it. Run! Who said that the devil's power was depleted? He's even stronger than before. Standing on the roof of the mountain peak, a figure in purple robes reaches behind him, slowly observing those below. My name is Ling Tian. I transmigrated to the Shangyuan continent half an hour ago. I've possessed the body of Ling Tian, the ancestor of the demon path. His name is terrifying. Those righteous sects knew about my weakened power and planned to eliminate me. Thankfully, the Absolute Territory system appeared in time to save me. Ling Tian lightly jumps down. A system notification appears, and he looks up in surprise. System announcement, mission complete. Recognizing that the host spared the righteous sects and refrained from unnecessary killing, reward points, 109 points. Seeing this, Ling Tian narrows his eyes in displeasure and speaks. I am a demon path ancestor, yet I have to do good deeds to earn points. What kind of strange system exchange is this? The system's notification board displayed an analysis. Name, Ling Tian. Race, human. Lifespan, 7 hours 25 minutes. Status, Master of the Xianming sect, Demon Dao Master. Cultivation, Grand Perfection Realm of Martial God, full points exchange, 100 points. Items, Newbie Gift Package. Ling Tian looked on in disappointment. Not only had his power decreased, but he was also close to death. This is the legendary Hell's opening. He must save his life, before it's too late. Immediately, he devised a plan for himself and quickly squeezed the ID card he was holding, shattering it into pieces. The system announced, Ting! Congratulations, host, for successfully using the super-grade gold quality life-saving card, increasing your lifespan by 15 days. After reading it, Ling Tian didn't feel happy at all. He was so angry that he vomited blood. With a furious rage, flames erupted everywhere. He clenched his fists, looked at the system, and roared in anger. A card that only adds 15 days. But immediately after that, Ling Tian stroked his beard with a thoughtful expression. There are equipment gifts too? Sounds cool. Show me the equipment, the system announced, equipping the complete Divine Soul suit. Instantly, a wave of energy surged around Ling Tian, and he suddenly floated in the air. In a flash, Ling Tian's hair gradually changed color. His face also gradually became younger. Surrounded by the mysterious energy source, Ling Tian's body grew younger, returning to his youthful form. He was not surprised by this rejuvenation. Ling Tian's expression remained calm. He stared at his hand and spoke. Younger again. But my spiritual power doesn't seem to have increased at all. System reminder. Task completed. The effect only allows the host to become younger, not altering abilities. After reading, he rested his hand on his hip and sighed in disappointment. What a useless newbie gift. Suddenly, from the distance, the sound of a girl's footsteps could be heard, approaching at an incredibly fast speed. As she ran, she cried out for help. Help! Save me! Ling Tian turned around in surprise. The girl with silver hair, incredibly seductive attire, and a pitiful expression reached out to him, pleading. Please save me, senior! Just a few seconds later, she quickly embraced Ling Tian, catching him off guard. Unresponsive, Ling Tian froze. His face flushed with embarrassment as he thought. What's happening? Suddenly, the girl in his arms looked up at him, her eyes sparkling with innocent fear as she begged. Senior, save me! Someone wants to kill me! In an instant, several men appeared before him. He could only stand there, frozen. The leader, bearing a long scar on his face, glared at him with a ferocious expression. But a moment later, he bowed, introducing himself. Forgive my audacity, but are you the master of the Cold Heart Mountain? The renowned leader of the Xianming sect, is that you? Ling Tian stared at them with utter exasperation, thinking. A hero saving a damsel in distress? No, it's a demon saving a damsel in distress. The girl clinging to him was terrified, her thoughts racing. Ling Tian, that demon? Ling Tian used his celestial eye to start analyzing the situation. After careful consideration, he was filled with unease and thought to himself, based on the spiritual energy, that man is at least at the soul martial spirit realm. With my current mortal state, it's hard to win. Should I just ignore it? The system suddenly tinged. The notification panel appeared at the same time, activating the side quest. Save a life like building a 7-story tower. Being in the desolate Love Mountain, you can't let others act recklessly. You must save this woman to gain merit. After reading, Ling Tian hit his forehead with a helpless expression. Suddenly, Cat Long Twin suddenly knelt down. He and his 2 followers knelt down, bowing respectfully and explaining to him, Today, I have recklessly entered the desolate Love Mountain. Indeed, it was because of my foolishness. But I had no choice. That woman ambushed and killed our Soul Ghost sect disciples, stole our precious medicine, and destroyed many treasures of our sect. Therefore, we had to pursue her. The girl hugging him turned her head and denied, No, it's not like that. Suddenly, his face darkened and he asked in a deep voice, You are from the Soul Ghost sect? Yes, I am the leader of the Ulan branch of the ghost cult. Cat Long Twin replied cautiously. But despite his outward respect, he secretly scoffed. This guy must be scared. After all, the ghost cult is currently the most powerful demonic sect in the land. He certainly wouldn't want to offend me for the sake of some unreasonable woman. But before he could react, a razor-sharp sword flew towards him. The system notification appeared. Kill the person who intends to harm a disciple of the unfeeling mountain. Earn reward 50 points. Ling Tian, with a cold expression, explained. I am sworn enemies with the ghost cult. Cat Long Twin furrowed his brows, tilting his head to look at his disciple who was impaled through the forehead by Ling Tian's sword. With swiftness, Ling Tian pulled the sword out of the disciple's head, causing him to fall backwards. As the remaining disciple stared in shock, Ling Tian raised his sword, lunged towards him, and roared. Anyone from the ghost cult will be killed. He swung his sword attacking, but he was lucky. Thanks to Cat Long Twin's quick reaction, he was pulled back by the man, saving him from a disaster. Cat Long Twin, with a dark expression, held his disciple tightly with one hand. His other hand held and dragged on the ground. Seeing this, Ling Tian, with a not very happy expression, thought to himself. If I had been faster, I could have stabbed that guy to death. Too bad. Cat Long Twin gritted his teeth, feeling extremely uncomfortable. His face was already covered in cold sweat. He asked, Senior Lang, why did you do that? Is that woman worth it? Ling Tian stepped forward, extended his hand to protect the girl, and replied. Since when am I allowing your insolence? Don't even mention your sect leader, Lin Muxian. Even if the Jade Emperor himself were here, he wouldn't dare question me like that. At the same time, his eyes emitted killing intent, and he thought to himself. If I can't win in a fight, I'll just use my aura to scare them away. Faced with Ling Tian's reaction, Cat Long Twin stood up, angrily and contemptuously said. Senior Lang, it's because you're the master of our ghost sect leader and also the ancestor of the demonic path, so I respect you. But don't think I'm afraid of you. Ling Tian was angry and slammed his sword against the ground. Then, he leaned forward angrily and chased the group of men. I'll give you one last chance. Get your disciples out of here. The disciple standing behind him was flustered. Faced with the man's expression, he stammered in fear. Master, it seems like that demon's power is not ordinary. We should retreat. However, Cat Long Twin didn't show any fear. He lifted his head and laughed. Ling Tian, I advise you to stop pretending. Even though you're much younger than before, your Qi Si and Dan Tian have no trace of Qi left. 1,000 years have passed, your time has ended. Hand over the person to me. If not, don't blame my sword for being ruthless. Then, with a wicked smile, he drew his sword in front of the man in a contemptuous manner. Faced with Cat Long Twin's actions, Ling Tian stared at him with eyes filled with killing intent and said in a deep voice. You still haven't got the chance to kill me. Ignoring Ling Tian's warnings, Cat Long Twin didn't show any fear and jumped up, attacking him. He raised his sword and charged forward, challenging him. Then try it. From his sword, a surge of intense blue lightning quickly radiated out. Ling Tian widened his eyes, staring intently at the sword. Seeing this, the girl cried out in concern as a warning. Senior Lang, be careful. Cat Long Twin pressed the sword against his neck, then looked at him with amusement. Your head, I'll take it then. Ling Tian remained unresponsive, standing still and waiting. Unexpectedly, as Cat Long Twin brought the sword close to his neck, everything around him abruptly stopped, and a violent storm erupted. Seeing this, his dismissive expression vanished, replaced by fear. Ling Tian's face darkened, and a terrifying aura of killing intent emanated from him. Unable to move, Cat Long Twin stared at him with panic in his eyes. In his mind, he thought, unable to move, it's as if I've hit iron. What's going on? At the same time, Ling Tian thought to himself, the absolute zone system is to create an absolute zone within a certain range. Within this range, I can control everything. Although it is only a 10 centimeters range at the moment, as long as I'm within this area, I am God. Immediately afterward, his eyes widened. An extremely powerful killing intent emanated from him. The sword he was holding suddenly shattered. Clutching the shattered sword fragments, Cat Long Twin couldn't stop trembling and lamenting. It's impossible, my heaven-grade peak blade, wind and snow, how could it? Facing his reaction, Ling Tian, with an expression full of killing intent, stepped forward and said, don't even mention this high-grade artifact sword, even if you combine all the special-grade artifact techniques in the world. In my eyes, they are just a bunch of cheap tricks. Cat Long Twin looked at him with fear in his eyes, thinking to himself, the rumors are true, he has truly obtained the power to turn the world upside down. I must leave this place quickly, or I will be killed at the same time. Cat Long Twin quickly retreated to find a way to escape. Seeing his action, he warned in a stern voice, if you dare to run, I will turn you into dust in the blink of an eye. Cat Long Twin froze in place, not daring to move. Ling Tian, on the other hand, approached with his sword in hand. The ghostly sect was founded by the third disciple, Lin Muxian. The elders, protectors, sect leaders, and even the servants all came from my Xianming sect. Your lack of respect, your transgression against your superior, is your first crime. Your wicked heart, your wolfish ambition, your plot to kill me for glory, is your second crime. Your abuse of power, your evil deeds, your attempt to kill the woman in front of me, is your third crime. These 3 crimes combined, according to the sect's law, deserve 1,000 stabs, your organs to be removed. Ling Tian's expression turned dark, his eyes flashing with murderous intent. As soon as he finished speaking, Cat Long Twin immediately collapsed to his knees, his body trembling uncontrollably. He prostrated himself, bowing his head and pleading with tears in his eyes. This disciple was wrong. This disciple truly knows he was wrong. Please, Senior Lang, show mercy. Spare this disciple's life. Faced with Cat Long Twin's pleas, Ling Tian remained unmoved. He looked down at him with icy eyes, devoid of any emotion. Under his terrifying gaze, Cat Long Twin thought to himself, in my entire life, I've never seen such eyes before. They hold no killing intent, yet they suffocate you. He lifted his head, his face pale as he looked at Ling Tian. He felt like a tiny ant. Suddenly, he felt his own body shrinking, while Ling Tian seemed to grow larger in an uncanny way. As if a crazy thought had struck him, he looked at his broken sword and trembled, saying, if that's the case, then don't blame this disciple. Without a moment's hesitation, Cat Long Twin grabbed the dagger. He used it to stab himself. Everyone around him looked on in shock at his sudden action. His hand was gripping the dagger, plunged into his shoulder, his body trembling in pain. Blood was flowing from his mouth, but he still lifted his head. He pleaded, begging the senior to spare his life. As soon as he finished speaking, he couldn't hold on any longer due to the deep wound, and collapsed. Ling Tian didn't show any concern, only glanced down at him. Witnessing his pitiful act, he reluctantly agreed. This seat grants your request. After his wish was granted, Cat Long Twin raised his head and looked up, trying to smile and say, thank you for. But before he could finish the sentence, the severity of his injuries proved too much for him, and he immediately passed away. At the sudden departure of his master, the disciple leaned over, trembling and speaking, Master, Master. Meanwhile, Ling Tian, standing in front of them, reminded them, take his body away. Seeing this, the disciple hurriedly thanked him. Thank you, Master. As the disciple prepared to leave, Ling Tian warned him. Help me convey a message to your sect leader. Tell him I will definitely come for him eventually. Tell him to behave and wait. Otherwise, I will not spare him. The disciple, carrying the body, hurriedly ran down the mountain, repeatedly thanking. Thank you, Master, for your mercy. Suddenly, the system notification appeared. System notification. Mission completed. Kill the assassin who plotted against the Master. Reward points, 200 points. See through the true intentions of the perpetrator. Reward points, 100 points. Saving one life is like building a 7-story pagoda. Reward points, 1,900 points. Do good deeds daily. Accumulate virtue 3 times. Recognizing that the host spared the other person's life and didn't destroy the body. Reward points, 500 points. After reading the notification, Ling Tian raised his hand to his chin, his expression filled with joy. He thought to himself, damn, I really hit the jackpot this time. At this moment, a girl's voice suddenly came from behind calling, Senior, Senior! He turned around, and the scene before him was the girl kneeling before him and pleading. Today, thanks to the senior's help, Tran Tuet managed to survive. Senior's kindness, Tran Tuet will never be able to repay in this lifetime. If Senior doesn't mind, please take me in. I will serve Senior for the rest of my life, like a horse or an ox. She was Tran Tuet. She looked up at Ling Tian with pleading eyes, and kept begging. Please take me in. I will serve Senior for the rest of my life, like a horse or an ox. Facing her proposal, Ling Tian's expression on the outside was cold, but inside, he felt awkward and unable to express himself. He thought to himself, for the rest of her life, like a horse or an ox. Wait a minute, I am a demonic sect master now, I can't be so easygoing. He raised his hand to his mouth and pretended to cough. Then, with a cold expression, Ling Tian asked, do you know where you are? And who I am? Tran Tuet replied without hesitation, I know. This is the Demon Dao Holy Land, the Cold Heart Mountain, the location of the Xianming sect. You are the leader of the Xianming sect, the ancestor of the Demon Dao, and the top of the Demon Dao heavenly ranking, Ling Tian. Senior Lang. Seeing her answer so fluently, Ling Tian put his hand on his chin, with a cold expression, and asked, if you know, why are you kneeling down to beg me to keep you? Aren't you afraid that I'll get angry and burn your bones as fuel? Hearing his words, Tran Tuet was startled, her eyes filled with surprise. Still kneeling, she couldn't help but tremble with fear and stammered, I am afraid. But a few moments later, she quickly overcame her fear, put her hand on her chest and affirmed herself. Since childhood, I have been taught to remember kindness and to repay it. What's more, Senior just saved my life. This life of mine belongs to Senior Lang. Please accept Tran Tuet as your disciple. Then she bowed her head deeply. Scene changes, mountain range in the early morning, at the grounds of the Devil Path Holy Realm. As they stepped in, Ling Tian gently closed the door behind them. Tran Tuet looked up in surprise. The vast space was eerily quiet, no sound or figure to be seen. As she entered, she gazed at the cobwebs covering everything with astonishment, wondering to herself, is this really the Xianmin sect, once the leader of the world? It feels like it hasn't been cleaned in ages. Ling Tian walked ahead, Tran Tuet asked. This is the Devil Path Holy Realm you mentioned, quite different from what I imagined, isn't it? But she didn't respond. Instead, she thought to herself, I heard that Ling Tian's power declined because of the 1,000-year drought, and the Xianming sect scattered after that. I didn't expect it to be this desolate. Just now, he clearly controlled the surrounding space. That kind of power can only be achieved by at least a Grand Martial Emperor. After the 1,000-year drought, he should still be unsteady. Suddenly, Ling Tian's steps stopped, causing Tran Tuet behind him to be startled. He turned around and looked at Tran Tuet, reminding her, this is a brief overview of the main hall. As for the other halls, feel free to explore them at your leisure. I'll go rest for a while. Call me when dinner is ready. Seeing this, she lowered her head and obeyed. Yes, senior. In a different room, Ling Tian walked in, sighed in frustration, finally shaking off that girl. Then, Ling Tian commanded the system. System, open my personal interface. The system notification popped up. Name, Ling Tian, race, human, lifespan, 15 days 6 hours 25 minutes, cultivation, Grand Martial God Max, absolute area range, 18 centimeters, exchange points, 1950. Confused by the system notifications, he asked. I already have so many exchange points. Open the shop and let me take a look. Extending lifespan is the most important. Buy some life-preserving cards first. After the system opened the shop and announced the prices, Ling Tian complained. What kind of extortionate prices are these? Let me see a basic legendary item. The card appeared after he selected it. He quickly reached out and crushed the card. The system announced, lifespan increased by 15 days 6 hours 25 minutes, now 45 days 6 hours 25 minutes. Facing this benefit, Ling Tian grumbled. This type of attack selling at this price, are you kidding me? Maybe I should buy an area range card. He looked at the items that appeared and began to choose. After only a few seconds of contemplation, he quickly decided on an item. Suddenly, a beam of light shone back into his face. The system announced, 10 centimeters converted to 22 centimeters. After reading the message, Ling Tian slapped his forehead, sighing in frustration. Ugh, such an expensive card and it only increases by a little. How long will it take me to master heaven and earth? He inadvertently noticed something when he extended his hand. It was a gift box-shaped card that read, each use consumes 50 points, redeemable for 1 point per use. Lucky draw increases by 7 points of luck. Accumulate 10 points of luck or a multiple thereof to receive a secret mystery gift. His eyes suddenly lit up. He stroked his chin with a calculating smile. Heaven doesn't close all doors. I'm the king of luck in this world. Then he raised his finger, trembling in prayer, putting all his faith in you. Without hesitation, he reached out and clicked on the gift displayed on the system, then yelled, Gold finger. But it seemed not as expected. A message appeared. Thanks for stopping by. Accumulated lucky points, 1. Although slightly disappointed, Ling Tian didn't give up and continued clicking. Next time he'd definitely get it in one shot. System notification. Thanks for stopping by. Accumulated lucky points, 2. Next time definitely next time again. System notification. Thanks for stopping by. Accumulated lucky points, 10. After countless clicks without any result, he lay down on the bed exhausted and dejected. My reward points are almost gone. The notification pops up asking if I want to continue drawing with the remaining 50 points. Ling Tian looks at his trembling fingers with hesitation. Suddenly, his eyes become unusually sharp. There's no insurance, right? Hesitation is failure. Finally, after some deliberation, he decisively chooses to continue drawing. After many persistent attempts, beyond expectation, he finally draws successfully. System notification. Congratulations, you received a Xian grade primary area card X1, a D grade intermediate special card X1, a Xian grade special grade Kung Fu, Lianqin Wawada Quanji, a Tian grade advanced absolute counterattack card X1. Accumulated luck points, 11. Ling Tian exclaims happily, yes, 550 points and I get so much stuff, even a Tian grade special grade Kung Fu. Jackpot, folks. The system continues to ask, your accumulated luck points from drawing have reached 10 points. Would you like to spend 10 points to open a secret gift pack? Without hesitation, Ling Tian said. Open it. Once again, luck was on his side. The system announced. Congratulations, host, you have received the judge's eye. The system continued. The world is treacherous, and people are hard to read. The judge's eye can assess and monitor the loyalty of others to you. When you detect disloyalty, you can use the judge's eye to inflict punishment. The judge's eye is permanent. Do you want to activate it? He smiled and replied. Activate. The system continued. The judge's eye is activated. Reminder, during punishment, the target must look directly into your eyes for at least 3 seconds. The severity of the punishment will depend on the target's level of loyalty. Having gained this power, Ling Tian looked up, his eyes sharp and filled with electricity. Excellent, let's test this power. The scene shifted to the dining room. Carefully arranged dishes sat upon the table. Ling Tian looked at the food on the table and thought, this little girl is quite resourceful. Just then, from a distance, Tran Tuet also arrived, holding a plate of food. Senior, you have rested now. Dinner is ready, you can eat. As if to test his abilities, he began to analyze. Lang Tian looked at Tran Tuet and began to analyze. Tran Tuet, human race, martial soul grand master, disciple of Yuan Tin Noyet Men. Her master is sect master Cat Humak. Currently, she is the Ahom of the host, cultivating the Qing Lin intermediate grade Xian Fam upper level secret technique, Qing Lin high grade Xian Fam sword technique. She has reached level 7, loyalty level is 10%, and she is identified as untrustworthy. Suddenly, the system popped up a reminder, stating that if loyalty is below 10%, it suggests using the judgment eye to punish, to prevent unforeseen circumstances. Should I punish? Lang Tian stared intently at Tran Tuet and pondered in his mind. 10% loyalty, why so low? To put it bluntly, someone like that could turn their back and stab you in the back with a deadly blow. Then, he sat down and picked up the food with chopsticks. Lang Tian put it in his mouth and began to taste. As soon as he sensed the food, his eyes widened in surprise. An indescribable delicious feeling, as if capturing every flavor in the dish. In his mind, he silently savored it. Even though it wasn't extravagant, the taste reminded him so much of the warmth of home. Truly unexpected, the system unexpectedly popped up with a notification, activating the side quest. Humanity's perfection. Exposing Tran Tuet's true intentions when approaching you, guiding her towards good. Reminder, you must find a way to be both gentle and firm to increase Tran Tuet's loyalty towards you, you'll need it later. Facing the system's task, Ling Tian slammed his hand on his forehead with a bored expression, thinking to himself, even eating a meal has a quest, it's unbelievable. Meanwhile, Tran Tuet stood beside him, seeing his reaction, covering her own mouth, unconsciously fearful in her thoughts. The senior's expression looked so distressed, could it be? Fearing something bad might happen, she looked at Ling Tian and asked nervously, Senior, is the food not to your liking? I'll go make it again right now. Suddenly, his face darkened, he commanded in a harsh voice, sit down. Seeing this, Tran Tuet didn't dare to argue but sat down in fear. Yes, sir. He continued to order, eat. Seeing Ling Tian's extremely tense expression, Tran Tuet's face turned pale in fear. At the same time, she thought to herself. So he's telling me to taste it and see how bad it is. I already tasted it and it was fine. Ling Tian's expression grew worse, his voice deepening as he asked. Do I have to personally feed you? His power terrified her. She trembled, stammering. Senior, I, Tran Tuet, know my mistake. I am willing to be punished. Seeing her confession, Ling Tian's anger subsided slightly. He asked, if you know you're wrong, then tell me, where did you go wrong? Looking at him, she cried and said with remorse, I, Tran Tuet, cannot cook well, making it difficult for you to swallow the food. I will improve my cooking skills from now on, and I won't disappoint you anymore. Suddenly, he slammed his chopsticks on the table with a loud bang. Ling Tian spoke in a serious tone. Is that all, Tran Tuet? Facing his anger, she didn't know what to do except stutteringly apologize. Hi, Tran Tuet, don't know how to ask for your guidance. Without hesitation, he raised his finger and offered. Fine. I'll give you 2 suggestions. Pure Moon Gate, Clear Lotus Heart Sutra. The chair was flung back with force. Seeing his anger was still burning, she knelt down in fear, trembling and confessing. Tran Tuet knows her crime. Tran Tuet knows that hiding from the senior is an unforgivable crime, but please, senior, let me explain. Ling Tian's face remained calm, without a ripple, as he replied. I will give you a chance to explain your purpose in coming to the Xianming sect. If you utter a single lie, I will not spare your life. His expression turned strangely fierce, and the oppressive pressure surrounding him was terrifying. Tran Tuet bowed her head, tears welling up in her eyes, and spoke with sorrow. I was the senior disciple of the Pure Moon Gate sect master, Cat Xiamu. A year ago, when the sect master was away, he was tricked by the Ghost Soul sect. He returned only a few months later, but died from internal injuries. The Ghost Soul sect then proceeded to annex the Pure Moon Gate, merging it into their Lantang branch. The temple was destroyed by Cat Long Twin, who offended the powerful elders. He held Tran Tuet captive at the Jade Moon Gate, forcing her to marry his son. Tran Tuet contemplated suicide. But remembering her master's tragic death and the destruction of her sect, she couldn't bear it. Tears streamed down her face, reflecting her immense grief and resentment. She knelt down, her voice choked with emotion. I endured suffering and humiliation for a year, plotting my revenge. I thought today would be the day, but my meager strength, Ling Tian, seated with crossed arms, watched her intently. He seemed to understand her intentions and asked coldly. So you lured Cat Long Tuen to the Absolute Love Mountain, using me to eliminate him? You crafted this whole scenario to have me save you, then repay your debt by staying here? Tran Tuet looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. Yes, that's right, Ling Tian, noticing her admission, pressed. You gambled your life, serving me, seeking the secrets of the Qing Lian swordsmanship and its internal arts, planning to return to the Yulan path to avenge your sect? This is your true purpose in approaching me, is it not? Tran Tuet was taken aback and lowered her head. Seeing Ling Tian's rising anger, Tran Tuet bowed deeply. Please take my life, senior. To die at your hands would be a blessing for my family. At her plea, he rose from his seat agreeing. All right. Ling Tian stood straight, looking at Tran Tuet with a terrifying expression, an equally terrifying killing intent radiating around him. If you admit your sins, then today I will punish you severely. He raised his hand ready to strike. An aura of fury descended upon Tran Tuet's head. She closed her eyes, bracing herself for Ling Tian's punishment. But to her surprise, there was no movement. She remained unharmed. Seeing this, she quickly lifted her head to look. Before her stood Ling Tian, his face calm. Instead of punishing her, his hand was already resting on her head. Ling Tian's eyes darkened. He began to mark his claim. From today, Mo Tran Tuet, you will be my first disciple in 1,000 years. Tran Tuet knelt, looking up with eyes full of surprise and stammered. Disciple? He lifted his head, confidently replied, your future residence, schedule, and work will be managed by you. She looked up at him with sparkling eyes, ready to cry. Seeing her strange reaction, Ling Tian asked, puzzled, what's wrong? Do you have any objections to my decision? Contrary to his expectation, Tran Tuet rushed forward, hugged his arm tightly and sobbed, thanking him. Tran Tuet dare not. Thank you for accepting me. Looking at Tran Tuet hugging his arm, crying loudly, tears streaming down her face, he didn't know what to do but to stand there helplessly. The system's notification board suddenly appeared. The system announced, Mac Tran Tuet's loyalty, 10% to 60%. Reward 500 points. Seeing this system notification, Ling Tian's gloomy expression suddenly brightened. The system continued. Mission complete. Humans are not saints, turning back is the right path. Knowing your mistakes can be corrected. Mission, exposing the true intentions, persuading Tran Tuet to approach you. Reward 1,000 points. Upon reading this, Ling Tian's eyes gleamed with happiness. The system continued. Mission complete, transforming hearts, inspiring goodness. Accepting Tran Tuet as your disciple. Reward, 1,989 points. With these notifications, his mood became overjoyed. After the reward announcements ended, the system issued a new mission. Side mission activated, a teacher for a day, a father for life. Pour all your efforts as a mentor, help Tran Tuet grow, inspire goodness, and help her become a heroic figure. Side mission activated. Since ancient times, only those with integrity and ability can assist the Emperor in opening up the world. Within 10 days, increase Tran Tuet's loyalty above 80%. Leaving the city will incur heavy penalties. Ling Tian stroked his chin, pondering, and asked himself. Another mission, this is fast. Afraid I won't have enough points to spend? Meanwhile, Tran Tuet continued to cry miserably, sobbing uncontrollably. Seeing this, he could only feel helpless, silently wondering how long she would cry. At the ghost cult headquarters, Tan Long Fong, in the vast main hall, on the seat of power, a faceless figure sat majestically. He looked down at his subordinates and asked, Is all the information you gathered accurate? One subordinate stepped forward, knelt down, and respectfully reported, I witnessed it all with my own eyes. That Ling Tian, I don't know what divine power he possesses, but with only his strength, he effortlessly subdued the sect masters and grandmasters. I also witnessed Ling Tian using his finger as a sword, instantly executing Thuong Van Pai's Shang Yuni Jian, cloud-piercing one sword technique, vaporizing Thuong Van's grandmaster, Awai Van Thien, on the spot. Beside him, a subordinate with silver hair tilted his head and questioned the person beside him. Those dozen grandmasters and sect masters all attacked at once, and that Lang Van still managed to fight back? The person next to him agreed and responded. That's right. Furthermore, he's been cultivating for thousands of years and has reached the peak. How could he have such immense spiritual energy? That Lai Ventien was also a peak martial emperor. He died with a single move and vanished into smoke. Another subordinate with black hair turned to ask, and the person next to him answered and then questioned again. Could it be that Ling Tian's strength is still at the peak level? Unbeknownst to them, a subordinate with blue hair spoke up. Ordinary cultivating geniuses may not be able to achieve this, but he's the demon, Ling Tian. Why is it impossible? And he is Wei Tianqing, the second leader of the ghost cult. Suddenly, from outside, a subordinate rushed in and urgently reported, Master, the leader of the Yulan branch, Cat Long Quan, died today at the Absolute Love Mountain without hesitation. He knelt down and begged to report. Upon hearing this urgent news, the people in the hall were like ants in a disturbed nest, asking in confusion, "What? Cat leader is dead? What's going on? Tell us quickly." According to the subordinate kneeling in the hall, I was chasing the traitor with leader to the foot of Absolute Love Mountain. Unexpectedly, that Ling Tian killed leader and told me to pass on a message to the master. He said he will come to see you, master, to reminisce about old times. He told you to wait patiently? If not, noticing the subordinate's hesitation, leader, with a calm expression, holding a cup of tea, asked in a low voice, "What if not?" Facing leader's question, the subordinate lowered his head, his face pale with fear, stammered, "Kill, kill, kill immediately." The moment he finished speaking, the head of the church was enraged. He slammed his hand on the chair, shattering the teacup in his hand. A stream of bright red blood flowed down onto the floor. He didn't seem to feel any pain. He lifted his blood-stained hand to his mouth, tasted it with his tongue, and then smiled sinisterly. It seemed like the time was right. He should go pay a visit to his old master, in Tianlin's palace. Feeling like he was being mentioned by someone, Ling Tian sneezed in surprise. Tran Tuet was cleaning up the dishes. Seeing him like that, she worriedly asked, "Senior, are you alright? Do you want me to light some coals to keep you warm?" Ling Tian rubbed his nose and replied, "I'm fine." The system appeared again. The system announced, "The host's words have reached the ears of the evil Lin Muxian. Today, he repelled the siege by the righteous sections. The successful killing of the ghost church's head has made him wary. This has activated the judge's eye. Control efficiency is awarded, 200 points. The system appeared to analyze. Lin Muxian. Human. Max level of martial god. The third evil person of the host Sombra Guild. Cultivation technique. Lightning and flame, max level, heavenly grade, special. Martial arts. Illusionary wind and lightning, max level, heavenly grade, high. Weapon. Godly wind, silver cloud spear, heavenly grade, high. Loyalty, minus 80%. After reading the system analysis, he was secretly worried. Minus 80%, does he want to chop himself into 100 pieces or something? Seeing that Ling Tian's expression seemed off, Tran Tuet approached him and repeatedly asked him, "Senior's complexion doesn't seem too good. Could you allow Tran Tuet to massage your shoulders?" But instead of being moved, he noticed something unusual in her words and asked back, "What did you call me?" Realizing her mistake, Tran Tuet awkwardly scratched the back of her head and repeatedly apologized. Master, I know I was wrong." System notification, Tran Tuet's loyalty, from 60% to 65%. Seeing this, Ling Tian glanced at her, didn't argue any further, and quickly let it go. "No, next time." Seeing that he didn't mind or blame her, she quickly smiled and approached him to massage his shoulders. "Yes, master, let me massage for you." Sensing something, Ling Tian silently leaned back and looked up. From afar, a pair of white wings flew towards them. It was a carrier pigeon, with a small letter tied to its leg. Seeing this, Tran Tuet quickly flew up and caught the pigeon. Holding the pigeon in her hand, she confirmed, this was the dedicated carrier pigeon of the Yulan sect. Opening the letter and reading it, her optimistic expression disappeared, replaced by cold sweat dripping down her face. Her face turned pale with fear. She stammered no. The letter read, "Senior Sister Tran Tuet, the leader of the Yulan sect is dead. The Yulan sect is furious. In 2 days, all the senior sisters and junior sisters imprisoned in the grand jail will be executed. What should we do?" Seeing her frightened expression, Lang Tian approached and asked, "Tran Tuet, do you want me to intervene?" At his suggestion, her expression darkened, and she replied, "Disciple knows that the Xianmin sect and the Yuhan sect are both demonic sections. If Master intervenes, it will easily lead to misunderstandings and further damage our reputation. But the senior sisters and junior sisters at the Tin Noyet sect are like family to me. I must save them." As she spoke, she bowed her head and left. Instead of fear, she trembled with anger. Her hand clenched tight as she pleaded, "Please, Master, let me leave the sect so I can save them." Ling Tian watched intently, his expression serious. After a moment of contemplation, he asked, "Is this your decision?" She replied resolutely, "Yes, Master." Seeing his disciple's determination, Ling Tian assigned her a task. "Very well. If this is what you want, 2 days from now, I will let you save them." He approached and placed his hand on Tran Tuet's shoulder, surprising her. Ling Tian reassured her, "If you are now a member of the Xianming sect, this is something I must take care of." His words filled her with emotion, her entire body trembling. Her eyes were red, ready to burst into tears. Once again, she knelt before Ling Tian and bowed deeply, thanking him. "Thank you, Master, for your great kindness. I will forever remember this. From now on, even if I have to climb mountains of knives or descend into seas of fire, I will do my best for you." The system pops up a notification. Activate the subquest in 2 days. Rescue the Pure Moon sect. Level the Azure Cloud path. Tran Tuet's loyalty has increased from 65% to 75%. Reward exchange points, 200 points. Ling Tian didn't seem to care much. He reached out his hand and requested from Tran Tuet, "Alright. Then, tonight cook me a fried pigeon to show your loyalty." At his words, her eyes widened in astonishment, but she still obediently replied, "Yes, sir." Suddenly, she turned and looked at the pigeon standing next to her with an extremely embarrassed expression. In another room, looking at the system panel in front of him, he put his hand on his chin and smiled. "These exchange points seem much easier to get than I thought." "That's right, the lucky draw card from before. I haven't tried using a primary level mysterious artifact zone card yet." Then, he looked at the card he had received from the previous time with a thoughtful look. Then, without hesitation, he reached out and squeezed the card in front of him. A beam of energy light emanated and enveloped his body. The system popped up a notification. Field range 22 centimeters to 522 centimeters. He looked at his hand, his eyes filled with joy, exclaiming, "It's increased by 5 meters! That's amazing!" From a nearby pillar, a cockroach crawled towards him. His sharp, cold gaze swept across the creature. That terrifying gaze made even the cockroach tremble in fear. Ling Tian suddenly stared at the cockroach, and an invisible energy flowed out, engulfing the space around him. The cockroach, controlled by his thoughts, moved closer and closer. Its body trembled incessantly in fear. He stared coldly at it, thinking to himself, "Everything in this absolute area is under my control, no matter their movement or life and death." Suddenly, the cockroach exploded under his pressure. Ling Tian sat down calmly in a chair. His mind continued to race, but this ability consumed a great deal of spiritual energy. He wouldn't use it carelessly until the crucial moment. "This path will definitely be a fierce battle. Besides my third disciple, Lin Muxian, I fear that his closest disciples will come to his aid. Those are, the fourth disciple, Zhuang Gaohan, the seventh disciple, Jiu Xinghe, and the fifth disciple, Mo Yaoli. At that time, no one will be able to predict what these villains will do. At best, we stand by and observe the situation. At worst, we join forces to kill my master right here. If we don't prepare a few trump cards beforehand, I fear this time the odds are stacked against us." Looking at the system appearing in front of him, Ling Tian commanded, "System, open the shop." As the system appeared, his eyes scanned the system's notification board. He looked at the shopping cart displayed on the system and wondered, "Special discount? Let's see what's so special." As he clicked on it, 3 jade tokens appeared before him, each with an incredibly eye-catching color. The system began to display the information of the first jade token, high-grade heavenly artifact, trial version. After using this item for 5 minutes, you will possess absolute power, able to freely use powerful techniques, meet gods and kill gods, fear no one. Redemption points, 500 points. Next, the information of the second card, the See Absorption 100 Passes, high-grade Heavenborn, trial version card. After using this item, you can resist all attacks at any level for 10 minutes, transferring the power and damage of the attack to your own possession. Redemption points, 500 points. Finally, the information of the third card, the Pride in the World, high-grade Heavenborn, trial version card. After using this card, you can release absolute power 3 times within 3 minutes, with each subsequent release more powerful than the previous one. It can cause early-stage martial artists and those below to fall unconscious on the spot, while mid-stage martial artists and above will feel terrified, their bodies frozen for at least 10 seconds. Redemption points, 500 points. After reading the information, without hesitation, he quickly pressed to purchase the cards. System notification. Congratulations, Master, you have successfully redeemed 2 reverse attack cards, 3 See Absorption 100 Passes cards, and 1 Pride in the World card, for a total cost of 3,000 redemption points. He looked at the system notification, put his hand on his chin, and began to contemplate. Although these items have a shorter usage time compared to the previous ones, their effectiveness remains unchanged. Moreover, they are 10 times cheaper than the original price. It's a pity that I've run out of redemption points, otherwise, I would definitely have bought more. Immediately after, Ling Tian quickly clicked on the gift box next to it, excitedly exclaiming, "I still have points left. Let's go draw." The system appeared, Earth Grade Primary. Danji 1 Command. X1, Xian Grade Intermediate. True Nan Card. X1, Accumulated Lucky Points 2. Seeing a promising start, he took the opportunity and continued to click on the draw button with a very excited expression. "Oh, I'm so lucky!" "Thanks for coming." System notification. Accumulated Lucky Points 3. Thanks for visiting. Contrary to his expectations, this draw was not as smooth as he hoped. This made him frown and become extremely uncomfortable. Time flew by, and soon it was evening. System notification board. Accumulated Lucky Points 18. Total draws 20. Total draws 20. Number of wins 2. Winning rate 10%. Bloodline verification, no. Despite his persistence, the results were not very promising. Ling Tian gloomily placed his hand on his forehead, expressing his helplessness. Responding to his reaction, the system asked again, accumulated points have reached 10. Would you like to use 18 points to open a secret gift package? He didn't hesitate or waver for a moment, and immediately replied, open. It seems after so much persistent effort, and without giving up, the system announced congratulations, congratulating the host on receiving a super special item. A bright golden light radiated around him. Ling Tian looked at it with a surprised expression and exclaimed, what is this? The scene shifts to the kitchen. Tran Tuet is holding a spoon, tasting her soup. After sampling her own cooking, she exclaims with delight. Perfect! Master will surely love it. Suddenly, a blinding yellow light appears from a corner of the kitchen. With a touch of curiosity, she approaches, quickly opens the window and looks up. Tran Tuet's eyes widen in astonishment as she utters. What is that? From the sky, a phoenix with brilliant yellow feathers, glowing like sunlight, soars and spreads its wings in the air. Looking closer, Tran Tuet wonders. Is there someone on it? Her eyes widened in astonishment, as if she had seen something incredible. Seeing the image of Ling Tian riding the Chongming bird, she couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Master! In the distance, within the forest, a few girls looked up, constantly discussing. Look everyone, that looks like Lang Tian, the demon, on the divine bird, huh? That calm demeanor, could it be? These girls were the spies of the Tu-own sect who were ambushed at the foot of the Jueqing mountain. High above, near a tree, a man with a bald head and a shiny surface raised his hand to shield the light, enhancing his vision. He was a member of the Qinghe sect. Looking at Lang Tian in the sky, he questioned. Could it be that the demon has broken through the heavenly tribulation and returned to life? From the side of the Yuhan sect's spies, a voice commanded. Release the pigeons to inform the sect leader. Moments later, all the pigeons in the forest suddenly soared into the air, scattering out of the forest. Looking down from above, Lang Tian's expression turned cold as he commanded. So many watchdogs beneath Jueqing mountain, huh? Chongming bird! Bring those pigeons to me. As he finished speaking, the bird he was riding raised its head. Its eyes glowed menacingly as it let out a call. At the sound of the bird's cry, the flock of pigeons suddenly stopped. From that cry, a powerful aura emanated, completely overpowering the pigeons that were approaching him. Faced with this incredible sight, below, the subordinates of the Soul Detective Guild opened their eyes wide in astonishment, and exclaimed. By Bird Tribute Phoenix? The system reappeared with a notification. Host has successfully intercepted 50 secret transmissions. Reward points 500. Ling Tian paid little attention. Standing on the Chongming bird, he crossed his arms and coldly warned. From now on, if I see you again, you'll die. A congratulatory message appeared on the system. Congratulations, host, on successfully expelling all 50 spies from the various sects under the Cold Moon Mountain. Reward points, 500 points. Toward the Ling Tian Palace, he quickly strode along the path. As he walked, he stroked his pet, praising it. You worked hard, Chongming bird. It happily responded. Yeah, he looked at it with a smile in his eyes. He thought to himself. I didn't expect to be able to get a super special grade celestial beast from the secret gift bag. This is a huge gain. Tran Tuet stood in the distance looking towards him. She held a plate of pigeon meat in her hand. Her expression was one of utter surprise, her eyes trembling, and she thought to herself. Oh my gosh! That dazzling figure up there is actually my master. Maybe this is the realm of the great origin max martial god. No, it must be the super god entering the mountain. Someone so powerful has accepted me as a disciple. How many lifetimes have I cultivated to earn this fortune? She couldn't help but feel her eyes grow watery, as if she was about to cry. The system displayed a notification, and Mo Tran Tuet's loyalty increased from 75% to 80%. Side mission completed. Since ancient times, only the talented could assist the Emperor in creating a new world. And Mo Tran Tuet's loyalty has reached 80%. Reward, 1,000 points. Sensing her presence, Ling Tian leaned his head slightly and asked. Is that Tran Tuet? She approached him with a plate of roasted pigeons, greeting him with a smile. Master, you're back. She quickly held out the plate of pigeons in front of him and bowed deeply, saying, The fried pigeons are ready. Please enjoy them, master. Seeing that she had successfully completed his request, Ling Tian pointed to the side and instructed. Good, this place is yours too. Tran Tuet turned her head and saw a flock of pigeons standing on the ground, lined up in a straight row. The pigeons looked at the roasted pigeon in her hand and trembled in fear, their expressions turning pale. At night, in Tran Tuet's quarters, in the quiet room, a stream of golden light slipped through. Tran Tuet was fast asleep. On her snow-white shoulder was a strange tattoo. From the tattoo, cracks suddenly appeared, resembling blood vessels. They spread further and further. Then, they gradually moved up to her face. When they reached, Tran Tuet suddenly opened her eyes wide. Her eyes were pitch black, deep, and incredibly frightening. Midnight in Lang Tian's area. He was still fast asleep in bed. Outside, a foot tiptoed closer. Sensing the movement, Ling Tian opened his eyes. As he turned his head, a woman with long hair and blue eyes appeared beside his bed. Seeing her, he asked in confusion, Tran Tuet? Without a word, she quickly attacked him. Ling Tian reacted quickly and easily dodged her attack. Standing in the corner of the room, he watched Tran Tuet attack him uncontrollably and asked, What are you trying to do, Tran Tuet? Hearing his voice, she slowly turned her head and said in a low voice, Master, kill him. Her eyes widened, flashing with a green light. Around her body, blue strings like veins pulsated. Tran Tuet bit her teeth, her expression terrifying. Ling Tian stood there, his eyes filled with surprise and shock. Looking at the mark appearing on Tran Tuet's shoulder, he thought to himself, This symbol is the real soul poison gas pill? Real soul poison gas pill. The user will become poisoned by the internal fire, lose their reason, activate their hidden potential, and their strength will drastically increase, turning them into a murderous demon. He immediately remembered the ghost cult members, his face turning cold as he thought. This poison pill is the work of the rogue disciple, Zhuang Gaohan. Why is Tran Tuet poisoned by this? Could it be? Suddenly, Tran Tuet's arm swung towards his neck. Due to his agility, Ling Tian easily dodged the attack. However, she didn't stop. Tran Tuet furrowed her brow and extended her sharp hand, continuing her assault. He ducked, dodging the blow. As he dodged, he furrowed his brows, thinking, Too fast! His eyes widened in surprise. Tran Tuet, who had just appeared before him, vanished without a trace in the blink of an eye. Unexpectedly, Tran Tuet descended from above. Her eyes, blazing with a bright blue light, were fixed on him as she charged towards him. Faced with such a sudden attack, he frowned again, thinking, I can't dodge. Without hesitation, Tran Tuet unleashed her claws at him. As her hand reached his face, suddenly a system notification appeared. Absolute Zone activated. Under his sharp gaze, she couldn't move, her trembling hand desperately trying to break free from his control. Despite that, she struggled, furiously shouting, Kill him! Ling Tian watched her hand slowly breaking free. His expression reflected growing concern as he thought to himself, the control is weakening. Looks like today's Absolute Zone usage time is about to expire. To quickly find an escape, he looked to his side and commanded, System, open the shop. As the system appeared, he immediately pressed the purchase button. The image of a new technique appeared. Looking at the price, he sighed in frustration. Damn it, it's so expensive. However, due to the circumstances, he ended up choosing to buy it. Then, he quickly took what he had bought, and used it to cover Tran Tuet's mouth. Her eyes had gradually changed. The marks on her neck slowly disappeared. After a few short seconds, everything returned to normal. Soon, she fell back to sleep once more. The next morning, as the birds were still perched quietly on the branches, from inside the room, a very loud scream echoed. That's Tran Tuet's scream. She looked around the room, trembling, and said, This is Master's room? Sitting on the bed, her face flushed with embarrassment. Looking at the prepared clothes, she wondered in confusion, Why am I here? I vaguely remember being poisoned and having a fire in my body. Did I attack Master, so Master saved me? Meanwhile, she changed into the prepared clothes. While changing, she tried to remember and asked herself, Annoying, I don't remember anything after passing out. Did I do something embarrassing? Suddenly, Lang Tian opened the door and walked in. Surprisingly, his face had a scratch on his chin and was covered in dirt. His expression remained calm, and he asked, You're awake, Tran Tuet? Seeing his disheveled appearance, Tran Tuet anxiously asked, Master, what happened to you? But he didn't seem bothered and calmly replied, I finished refining pills and got hungry, so I roasted a pigeon to eat. What's wrong? Looking at his appearance, she trembled and said, Tran Tuet thought I had a fire in my body last night and caused this. Ling Tian didn't pay any attention. He sat down on the bed, scratching his head, looking extremely tired. He had been tortured all night and was exhausted. Meanwhile, she sat beside him, her body trembling uncontrollably. In her mind, she kept repeating his words, tortured, tortured. Suddenly, Ling Tian took out a notebook and a box, handing them to Tian Shui. Take this Qing Lian mind technique and practice properly. Here's a primary grade earth spirit chi pill for you. Looking at the small box in front of her, she stammered. This, he explained. Last night, I used one to save you. I have 2 left. Use it whenever you feel unwell. Suddenly, tears began to fall from her eyes onto the book. Tran Tuet held the book in her hand and cried uncontrollably. Her heart ached. Since the death of the leader of the Pure Moon sect, Cat Xiaomu, Tran Tuet's heart had been frozen, but Ling Tian's warmth easily melted the ice. From that day on, Tran Tuet secretly swore to never betray her master, to follow him until death, without question, at the Xianming sect. Outside the room, after obtaining the Qing Lian mind technique, Tran Tuet dedicated herself to her practice. She wanted to become strong quickly so she wouldn't drag Ling Tian down. As if sensing something, a surge of energy shot through her. It was the sound of someone eating. Tran Tuet was surprised. Her eyes widened in astonishment. It was a young man with brown hair who was approaching. Seeing him appear, Tran Tuet shouted, Who are you? How dare you intrude on the Xianmin sect? He didn't seem to care, coldly glancing at Tran Tuet and growling, "If you don't want to die, get out." Martial cultivators are divided into 10 ranks. Each rank has 5 realms. Higher-level cultivators can deduce the realm of lower-level cultivators from the aura emanating from their bodies. But being of a lower level, she had never experienced the scope and intensity of higher-level spiritual power, so she couldn't accurately gauge the opponent's level. The spiritual power she saw now was beyond her comprehension when facing a stronger opponent. There was only one way to win. Seeing her lack of reaction, he didn't wait any longer, raised his hand to draw his sword and said, "If you want to die so badly." But before he could draw his sword, she charged forward, wielding a branch infused with energy, and shouted, "You're the one who's going to die." She attacked with a sudden move, striking him down. Without hesitation, she used her weapon to strike. In a flash, she stood behind him, her expression stunned. Turning her head, she thought to herself, if this move fails. He drew his sword, his eyes cold and filled with killing intent. He growled, "Farewell, 10 chances, 1 life." A long, fierce swing came down. To his surprise, his attack was blocked by another sword. Tran Tuet, unharmed, quickly turned around. Seeing the familiar figure in front of her, she cried out, "Master!" He stood on her side, his expression still unreadable. He spoke calmly. "Long time no see, Master." Ling Tian remained impassive, his gaze cold as he looked at him. The scene was ironic. Tran Tuet stood in the middle, Ling Tian and his former disciple facing each other, swords locked in a stalemate. The young man with red hair tilted his head, looking at him before greeting. "Long time no see, Master." Ling Tian continued to look at him with a cold expression, not replying. Tran Tuet, now knowing the relationship between them, looked at them with a helpless expression and asked, "Master?" He was Ka Van Dieu. The system was analyzing now. Ka Van Dieu, late-stage human race martial god, the first villain of the host. Cultivating the super-grade special aptitude, Azura transformation, peak, high-grade special aptitude, one-way Azura Dao, peak, weapon, long Tuak Dao, super-grade special, loyalty minus 60%, identified as a traitor. Ling Tian frowned, glancing at him, thinking in his head, "This is a good opportunity to test the power of the judgment eye." Without any warning, Ka Van Dieu commanded, "Strike!" Suddenly, a loud thunderclap came from the sky. Ka Van Dieu looked up, wondering to himself, "Thunder! It's clearly sunny now." The next day, he suddenly jumped back, creating distance between himself and the two of them. He suddenly looked up. From the sky, powerful lightning bolts struck down. Completely unprepared, Ka Van Dieu was hit. Tran Tuet stood beside him, looking up at Lang Tien, secretly wondering, could this lightning have been summoned by Master? He looked at Ka Van Dieu, who was struck by his lightning, and secretly rejoiced in his mind. This ability is awesome. Punishing these evil scoundrels should feel like this. On Ka Van Dieu's side, he used his sword to brace himself against the ground. With the sword glowing with electricity, Ka Van Dieu knelt down with his head bowed. Seeing that he was unharmed, Tran Tuet standing beside him trembled and said, He's completely fine." As if escaping a move, Ka Van Dieu looked at them with a calm gaze and spoke with pride. "My special grade, heaven-born weapon, the Thuan Long Tuak Dao, can absorb the damage from your heavenly thunder." But before he could finish his words, he felt something strange in his body. Immediately after that, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ka Van Dieu knelt down, clutching his chest, trembling in pain, thinking to himself, "This power surpasses the absorption limit of the Thuan Long Ho Tuak. Could it be that my master has truly reversed fate and broken the 1,000-year curse?" The system displayed a notification. Successfully punished the problematic line, near-range counterattack against the opponent, awarded 200 points. Ling Tian walked up to him and stood in front of him, his voice cold. "Yuval Ka Van Dieu, do you know your crimes yet?" His face showed clear anger, his eyes were also sharp, carrying a murderous aura. Ka Van Dieu opened his eyes wide and remained silent. The more that happened, the more intense his gaze became. Instantly, he pulled his sword from the ground. Without hesitation, Ka Van Dieu turned and ran, head down. Tran Tuet saw him fleeing and shouted, "Master, he's running!" The system suddenly appeared with a reminder. Seeing that Ling Tian wasn't reacting, Tran Tuet tilted her head, glanced at him, and suggested, "Master, he's about to get away. Quickly use the heavenly orbit to attack him." However, Ling Tian stood still, allowing Ka Van Dieu to escape. He quickly jumped onto the roof and disappeared. Seeing this, Tran Tuet stared in utter confusion. After seeing that Ka Van Dieu had successfully escaped, Ling Tian turned around, placed his hands behind him, and calmly walked away. Tran Tuet followed her master. When she saw her master calling her, she turned her head and replied, "Yes, master." In the main room, Ling Tian went ahead, Tran Tuet's footsteps followed. Looking at Ling Tian's calm back, countless questions arose in her mind. "Master, why is that? Someone just invaded the Tuet Tin Mountain, and they were your enemy. Letting him go like that, isn't it like releasing a tiger back into the forest?" While walking, he suddenly asked about Tran Tuet's cultivation. "How is your Tan Lin Heart Sutra practice going?" she replied. I was practicing, then he suddenly appeared. When he sat down on his chair, he looked down and made a request. If that's the case, continue your practice in front of me. Tran Tuet bowed her head and obeyed. Yes, yes, master. Ling Tian propped his chin, tilted his head, and pondered. Ka Van Dio didn't seem like he was here to assassinate me. He was here to confirm something. Perhaps he knows about my fight with the righteous sects, and wants to come to probe me. He usually focuses on his cultivation and isn't interested in gathering information about others. Someone must be pulling the strings behind this. Then, he glanced down to observe Tran Tuet's training. The bait has been cast. Now, it's just a matter of waiting for the fish to bite. Ling Tian's eyes became cunning and domineering. Scene change. At a different tavern, Dio holds a teacup, his hand trembling continuously. His whole body shakes with him, revealing his extreme anger. A girl with a cold expression, arms crossed, walks over and inquires, "You said the master summoned the heavenly thunder just by standing still? Even his former self might not have been able to do that." She is the second disciple of the Tan sect, Tam Yin Tan. On the other side, a young master with blue hair. He smiles and steps forward. Second senior sister, our senior brother always speaks the truth. It must be the master who injured him. He is the 8th disciple of the sword demon Langren, Truck Hung Tu. After both of my brothers sat down at the tea table, I said, "To be honest, even now I don't dare believe it. I didn't expect that my master's cultivation was even more profound and unpredictable than before. At that time, my master looked no different from an ordinary person. His dantian had no life force. Moreover, there was no sign in the heavens and earth. Even my subconscious could not sense the presence of heavenly thunder. But just like that, a silent bolt of lightning struck me. If it wasn't for the fact that I had worked hard to fight life or death against many masters and gained extraordinary intuition, I'm afraid I would have really died at the Jueqing mountain." Ka Van Dio was still recounting the event. He bit his own fingernails, his body shaking constantly in anger. After finishing the story, Tam Yin Tan got up from the table and stood. She stepped back, her body facing the window. She calmly said, "Before, the Changqing Pavilion received confirmed news that our master's cultivation had declined due to the 1,000-year drought. But a few days ago, my master lightly killed Lai Venthian, a peak martial emperor, and easily fended off countless encirclements by dozens of martial emperor masters. Plus, the fact that he summoned heavenly thunder and injured Big Brother today. Everything is clear now. My master has truly mastered the art of shifting the heavens and earth. As for how much his strength has actually recovered, it's still uncertain." Seeing this, Truck Hung Tu quickly left the table and strode towards Xinyuanqing, seeming to want to clarify the matter. They had to go to the Jade Orchid Road. At this moment, at the tea table, Chiu Wenyao turned her head, leaning back, her body still trembling, and said, "Senior brother, I'm still injured. I won't be going to the Jade Orchid Road tomorrow." Truck Hung Tu heard this, leaned his hand against the window, his expression extremely cunning, and asked, "What about senior sister? Are you going to abandon me alone?" At his question, she looked rather displeased, crossed her arms, and left. Then she spoke, refusing to be persuaded. "I have things to do. I'm afraid I can't go. I advise you, junior brother, don't bring trouble upon yourself. Just watch from afar." Despite her advice, he didn't seem to take it seriously. He waved his hand cheerfully in farewell. "Thank you for your concern, senior sister. Take your time." When he was alone in the room, his expression changed instantly. Truck Hung Tu put his hand to his chin and pondered. If it was truly as the elder brother said, then Master's strength had not diminished, but increased. It seemed there was only one path open to him. Turning towards Tran Tuet, she was still diligently practicing. Ling Tian approached to observe, thinking to himself, "She has already mastered the Qing Lian heart technique in just the time it takes to burn an incense stick? It seems this girl is also a prodigy." He stroked his chin, his expression filled with amusement. The system suddenly appeared, announcing, "Xinyuanqing and Truck Hung Tu have heard the story from Ka Van Dio, activating the judge's eye monitoring reward 488 points to exchange." Then it began to analyze Xinyuanqing. Xinyuanqing, Wu race, mid-level martial god realm, the host's second enemy. Master of the Heaven Grade Special Class Heart Technique Wu Hua Xian Jing, peak, Heaven Grade High Class supporting Wu Jiu Tian, peak. Weapon, Phone Wu Wu Fan, Heaven Grade Special Class. Loyalty 40%, Judgment, Traitor. Next came Truck Hung Tu. Truck Hung Tu, Human Race, Late Stage Martial God Realm Sword Demon Langren, the host's 8th enemy. Master of the Heaven Grade Special Class Heart Technique Tian Jian He, peak, Heaven Grade High Class Sword Technique Tian Ling Huan Jian Huinju, peak. Weapon, Tian Hong Shang Yun Jian, Heaven Grade Special Class. Loyalty -70%. Judgment, Traitor. Ling Tian looked at the 3D image recreated by the system before him, and laughed gleefully. The fish are about to bite the hook. Ka Van Dio and Xinyuanqing are indeed together, but which path will this Truck Hung Tu take? The system notification appeared again. New master-disciple relationship has been registered. New disciples affection level, -70%, consider it a newly formed relationship. Ling Tian grumbled with displeasure. What a mess! The appearance of Zhu Lan too, the vicious beast, in the disciple list made Ling Tian feel slightly uneasy. Although it has the deepest mind among the 9 disciples, we must be prepared to deal with it. Ling Tian looked at the system and commanded. System, open the shop. The discount is over, what a pity. Let's try our luck with a draw then. He pressed the gift box with a bored expression. Without hesitation, he quickly chose. Draw 10 times consecutively. Then, 10 cards flew out in quick succession. The system pops up to congratulate. Congratulations to the host for receiving an intermediate level divine artifact, AX2 Earth grade primary spirit gathering wind chasing sword X1, and a high level heaven grade absolute counterattack card X1. He strokes his chin, his expression full of joy. His luck is pretty good. The system continues to ask, your lucky draw points have accumulated enough 10 points. Do you want to use your lucky points to open the secret gift package? Ling Tian immediately answered, open. The system pops up again to congratulate. Congratulations to the host for receiving 1 piece of Tai Huindan. This pill can not only make your whole body rejuvenate, but also improve your blood circulation, strengthen your bones and spine, and even be full of vitality, abundant energy, and recover 1/10 of your peak period. He reaches out to take the item. He automatically retrieves a spirit pill from the system. Ling Tian quickly pops it into his mouth. His eyes suddenly widen. A stream of heaven and earth spiritual energy runs from his head to all the acupoints of Ling Tian, radiating throughout his 4 limbs and bones, nurturing the meridians throughout his body. As all the spiritual energy gathered at the field, Ling Tian felt an unprecedented fullness. The field was burning hot, his whole body filled with an unprecedented feeling of power. The system appeared, congratulating him, congratulating the host for regaining 1/10 of 1,000th of his peak power. Ling Tian looked at a stone statue in front of him. Without hesitation, he reached out his hand and attacked the statue. Ling Tian raised his hand in front of his eyes. Looking at the energy emanating from his hand, he helplessly wondered, so it's only 1/10 of 1,000th of my strength. If I fully recover, I'll be afraid of no one. Suddenly, there was a sound behind him. Ling Tian glanced back alertly. Behind him stood Truk Hung Tu, who knelt down and bowed. Disciple Truk Hung Tu greets his master. He didn't react at all. The surrounding space was terrifyingly silent. He glanced at him, his expression indifferent, thinking, when did he get here? Why didn't I notice? If he attacked me, perfect timing. In a flash, his eyes suddenly changed, becoming more wicked. Seeing that Ling Tian didn't react, Truk Hung Tu felt uneasy, wondering why his master was silent. Want to see how I react? Or completely ignore me? Then he sneaked a peek up to observe. But before he could, he quickly had to raise his head with a shocked look. Before him was Ling Tian's enraged appearance, his face filled with murderous intent. He roared, scoundrel, do you know your crime? Truk Hung Tu's expression was filled with fear. A few beads of cold sweat appeared on his face. He recalled the story in the geotext, when his master asked Ngit Suc, have you realized your sin? Before he could answer, lightning struck him in his mind. He was terrified, thinking, could my master be doing the same? To be safe, without thinking, he quickly left the position he was standing. At the same time, Truk Hung Tu drew his sword for protection, his expression extremely tense. He quickly looked up at the sky, but he waited in vain. The thunder never came. In his mind, he was surprised, thinking, the thunder is not there. Why is there only thunder but no lightning? Senior brother is such a fraud. Could it be that my master wanted to kill me and even concealed the thunder? Ling Tian stood in the distance observing, pretending not to know. He looked at the sword in Truk Hung Tu's hand and asked, Ngit Suc, do you want to attack your master? His face turned pale, and his body trembled with fear. Immediately, he knelt down. Truk Hung Tu knelt down in front of Ling Tian, his expression extremely serious, and he confessed repeatedly. Disciple dares not. Disciple knows his crime. Disciple is afraid that master will strike with heavenly thunder. Please forgive me. Seeing this, Ling Tian raised his hand high as if preparing to attack. His face was cold, and he sighed. You know heavenly thunder, so you have encountered the miraculous verses, haven't you? If that's the case, then your master will not say more. At his words, Truk Hung Tu quickly spoke to stop him, his appearance extremely frightened. Master, wait. This time I've returned to make amends and redeem my sins. Please give your disciple a chance. Then, he quickly kowtowed and begged. Looking at his appearance, Ling Tian thought to himself, it seems that Truk Hung Tu has heard the news of his defeat of the righteous sects. He wants to find a way to survive, doesn't he? Then he spoke, asking, you wretch, do you know that the crimes you have committed cannot be atoned for in a lifetime? How can you make amends and redeem your sins? Truk Hung Tu reached out his hand in front of him, explaining, Master, I know I'm heavily burdened with crimes, but at the beginning, I also had my own difficult circumstances. If I don't follow the mysterious person's orders, tens of thousands of people in the Xianning sect, including my master and fellow disciples, will be in danger. His face turned pale as he spoke. Hearing this, Ling Tian angrily shouted in confusion. Don't whine and complain to me about some mysterious person. All I know is that you did things that made people believe in your lies. Once again, Truck Hung Tu bowed his head. He quickly explained, Master, for years, I have been investigating everywhere. I discovered that someone was trying to divide the Xianming sect, plotting to harm you, and instigating the separation of the 9 of us from you. All of this was orchestrated by that mysterious person. Please, Master, give me a chance. For you, for the Xianming sect, to uncover the truth, to bring the mastermind to justice. He extended his hand, his expression serious as he pleaded. Truck Hung Tu's words made Ling Tian realize a problem. Why was the Xianming sect so divided, and why did the 9 disciples betray and leave? He couldn't recall these events. It seemed like that part of my memory had been intentionally sealed or erased during the dimensional travel. I could only judge how much of what Truck Hung Tu said was true by his demeanor. Seeing him appear sincere, I decided to give him a chance to make amends. All right. I'll give you a chance. Get up. After being helped up, he bowed and continuously thanked me. Thank you, Master. This time, your disciple will definitely keep his promise. As I turned to leave, he raised his hand to his chin, beginning to calculate. The aura emanating from Master always felt profound and unpredictable. It must be the power of reversing fate. Wise birds choose the right branches to perch on. Wise people choose the right master to rely on. It seems returning to the Mount of Unrequited Love was a wise decision. His eyes gradually distorted, becoming cunning. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the sky. Truck Hung Tu asked in confusion. What sound is that? I answered. It is said that you can be forgiven for death, but not for living. Today, I'll bestow upon you a path of heavenly thunder. Enjoy it slowly. Seeing this, Truck Hung Tu spread out his hands, fearfully begging me. Master, spare me! Your heavenly thunder, your disciple can't withstand it. But his fear was met with my calmness. If you can't withstand it, then why keep you? A bolt of lightning struck the mountain peak from the sky. System announcement. Successfully punished the traitor Truck Hung Tu, receiving 200 exchange points. Turning towards Tran Tuet. A lotus platform now appeared above her head. This marked the completion of her cultivation. Tran Tuet held out her hand in front of her, her eyes filled with astonishment. She had fully comprehended the Qinglian Heart Sutra. With this, she could help her master in the battle at Ulan Road tomorrow. Looking up at the chair that had appeared out of nowhere, she wondered, where did Master go? He is outside. Tran Tuet searched around Lang Tian, calling out, Master. After a while, still unable to find him, a sense of unease crept into Tran Tuet's mind. Could it be that he was afraid of her getting involved and went to Ulan Road alone? Her eyes widened in surprise. Looking at the dark figure lying on the ground, she exclaimed in astonishment, What is that? It was Truck Hung Tuesday. He was unconscious, lying on the ground. Tran Tuet approached, a stick in her hand, continuously poking him. I was scared, wondering, dead? He looks like he was struck by lightning. Her gaze fell upon something else nearby. Seeing the extremely valuable green sword, Tran Tuet was taken aback, exclaiming, Weapon Heaven's Crimson Cloud Sword, a special grade artifact. She quickly took the sword and examined it, speculating, the owner of this sword is the Sword Demon Wanderer, as the people say. Truck Hung Tu, the 8th disciple of Master. Looking at him unconscious before her, Tran Tuet questioned with uncertainty. How did he get here? Could it be that he came to assassinate Master, but was ultimately defeated by Master? It felt like the person in front of her was gone. She held the sword in her hand, her eyes filled with joy. But if they were dead, then this sword was hers. Suddenly, Truck Hung Tu woke up. He looked at her, his voice weak as he asked, Girl, what are you doing? Instinctively, Tran Tuet quickly backed away. She looked at him, surprised, and exclaimed, You're not dead. He looked at her, his whole body trembling as he tried to speak. I can still be saved. Suddenly, Tran Tuet reached out and drew her sword. Her entire body emanated a strong killing intent. Okay. Then, she grabbed the sword and charged forward, her expression cold as she said, Then let me send you off. Tran Tuet charged at him with the sword, shouting, Die! Truck Hung Tu opened his eyes wide, staring at her. But before he could reach her, her eyes widened in surprise. He appeared before her, only to disappear in a flash. Tran Tuet was stunned and asked, Where did he go? At the same time, a voice came from behind her. What are you looking at? Tran Tuet turned around in shock. The sword in her hand was gone. She didn't know when it disappeared. From behind, Truck Hung Tu pressed his sword against Tran Tuet's neck and smiled slyly. Taking other people's things is a bad habit, my dear. Seeing that he had been standing behind her all this time, she was surprised and asked repeatedly. You were pretending to be dead all this time? Even the master was deceived? It can't be. He turned and sheathed his sword. Then he covered his mouth with his hand and coughed up blood repeatedly. You wouldn't say that if you had taken my master's thunderbolt. If I hadn't used the ultimate protection skill of the celestial spirit sword in time, I would have turned into a dried-up corpse by now. Cough, cough. Tran Tuet exclaimed in surprise. Huh? Looking at his condition, she thought to herself, there's no way my master wouldn't be able to tell whether he was dead or alive. So that means my master showed mercy and spared him? Truck Hung Tu wiped his mouth with his handkerchief and turned to ask her, by the way, where is your master now, junior sister? At his previous way of addressing her, Tran Tuet angrily shouted, who is your junior sister? You cheeky thing. But on the contrary, his expression didn't show the slightest discomfort. He even looked amused. You're a fierce junior sister, very good, you have a bit of the style of our Xianming sect. Seeing him making fun of her, she was so angry that her whole body was enveloped in flames of fury. Ignoring Tran Tuet's emotions, Truck Hung Tu began to recount. Back then, our Xianming sect was the ruler of the martial arts world. We were known for our grand and formidable presence, and our master was the most renowned of all. His deeds were unparalleled, a cruel heart, thunderous and wind-howling, bloodthirsty and savage. Tran Tuet not only didn't believe it but also angrily shouted, don't talk nonsense! Master is far from being like what you said. He raised his hand to stroke his chin, smiling with a hint of wickedness. Little junior sister, I'm only doing this for your own good. You'll learn the truth about master later. Seeing that he didn't stop talking, Tran Tuet angrily approached from behind. She kicked him hard in the groin, shouting, die! His groin felt like a broken egg. Truck Hung Tu rolled on the ground, clutching his groin in pain as if half his soul had been lost. The scene shifts to inside the room. Ling Tian was intently observing the badges in front of him. He reached out to choose from the system, his expression full of anger. He shouted, WTF! 10 draws and not a single hit! I don't believe it, one more time. But in the end, it still let you down. You, with bloodshot eyes, seemed to be waiting to cry, with an extremely miserable expression. Ling Tian sat facing a corner of the wall, looking extremely heartbroken. The system popped up a notification, confirming that Mo Tran Tuet maintained her trust, receiving exchange points, 200 points. He raised his hand to his chin and stroked it, asking in confusion, maintain trust? In another room, a sneeze echoed, achoo. Truck Hung Tu entered the room, rubbing his nose in assessment. Why is there dust everywhere? Did you take good care of the master? Seeing his complaint, Tran Tuet turned in annoyance and threatened, do you want another kick? Hearing the noise outside, Ling Tian opened the door. As soon as they saw him, both of them simultaneously bowed to their master. Disciple greets master. With a cold expression, Ling Tian asked him, you rogue, are you talking bad about your master behind his back again? Truck Hung Tu bowed his head and confessed sincerely. Master, I dare not. I was only chatting with the little junior sister. Right, little junior sister? He then glanced at Tran Tuet for confirmation. However, she didn't pay any attention, even feeling annoyed and turning her head away with a snort. Seeing his action, Ling Tian warned with a displeased expression. Truck Hung Tu, don't think that I agreed to let you return, you can be presumptuous. Running rampant, the next time the heavenly thunder won't spare your little life. Seeing that he was not convinced enough, Truck Hung Tu made a promise to show his trust. Master, to show my loyalty, I am willing to level the Yulam Road for you and save the disciples of the Jingwe sect. Ling Tian's eyes filled with murderous intent. Looking up, Tran Tuet also turned her head and asked, who will go to save them? Based on what? He responded proudly. Because I am your 8th disciple. Leave this to me. Not only will it not worsen the relationship between the two sides, but it will also clearly demonstrate the status and strength of the master. Truck Hung Tu confidently put his hand on his chin and asked, Master, what do you think of my plan? Ling Tian coldly replied, it's nothing. Immediately after, he left, much to Truck Hung Tu's surprise. Huh! Meanwhile, Tran Tuet, who stood behind, covered her mouth and chuckled quietly. As he left, Ling Tian didn't forget to give instructions. I will handle tomorrow's battle myself. You stay obediently at the Jiu Ting mountain. Seeing him acting unusual, Truck Hung Tu put his hand on his chin, his face filled with fear, and asked, Master, have you changed your mind? You always told me to come up with plans. As soon as he sat down, Ling Tian quickly called for Tran Tuet. She approached him, bowed her head respectfully, and asked, Master, do you have any instructions? Ling Tian took out a sword. Tomorrow's battle at the Yulan Road will be dangerous. I'm giving you this sword for protection. Tran Tuet exclaimed in surprise. That's the Ling Yu chasing wind sword. Truck Hung Tu approached from behind. He sneered. This is indeed a good primary grade earth artifact. Master, your new disciple has just reached the early stage of the martial king realm. Isn't it a bit too early? She felt very annoyed and glared at him, thinking to herself. What's it to you? Ling Tian, sitting high above, gave his reason. Tran Tuet has completely broken through to the early stage of the martial king realm. Moreover, she just used 2 primary grade earth spirit essence consecutively. Her internal spirit energy has become much thicker than before. She can completely use the Tanlin Noyet Trui Fong sword now. She saw him defending her and was incredibly touched. Then she looked at him with sparkling eyes, silently calling him Master. In her heart, Truck Hung Tu was struck dumb. He was extremely shocked and asked again and again. What? Primary grade earth pills? Earth spirit essence? 2 of them. Master, you are too indulgent towards your new disciple. At the same time, he thought to himself. Remember when we first started, we never had this kind of treatment. When you couldn't break through your realm, just take 2 moves from your master. When you couldn't improve your cultivation, just take 2 moves from your master. When you couldn't learn any martial arts, just take 2 moves from your master. Either I was beaten black and blue, or I was on the verge of death. Even now, as I'm being beaten, I feel like I'm about to be beaten again. The more he thought about it, the more he felt depressed. His body was so pale that it seemed like he could be blown away by the wind. Those days, he really didn't want to remember. Seeing his expression, Ling Tian asked, What's wrong? Are you unhappy with my decision? He replied sorrowfully. I dare not, he continued his proposal. Seeing how you care for your junior sister, tomorrow, you will also come with me to the Ulam Road. You will be responsible for Trantuet's safety. As soon as Ling Tian finished speaking, Truck Hung Tu quickly obeyed. Disciple will definitely accomplish this. As long as the junior sister is alive, I am alive. If even a single strand of her hair is lost, I will surely die as atonement. Seeing his eager attitude, he continued to give an order. I'm a bit hungry. You go to the town and buy some essential supplies. Don't forget to buy food. Trantuet replied. Disciple obeys. He quickly left, passing by Trantuet. After he had gone far from them, he thought deeply. What is my master planning? He's sending me away. Perhaps there is something he needs to do, something he can't tell anyone. Could it be? In a flash, Truck Hung Tu swiftly left the room. Seeing this, Trantuet quickly raised her hand and reported her concern. Master, this man has a silver tongue and a heavy heart. Why do you still keep him around? He will surely be detrimental to you later on. Lang Tian rose from his chair and reassured her. I have my own plans, you don't need to worry. She didn't ask any more questions, simply replying, yes. As he walked down, he cautioned, this sword is as sharp as a star, capable of killing or saving a person. Use it wisely, adapt to the situation. The line between good and evil is thin, be careful. He then presented a sword before her. Trantuet carefully received the sword he bestowed, bowing her head in gratitude. Thank you, master. I will remember your advice. She turned towards Lang Tian's bedroom. He lay stretched out on the bed, his face covered in cold sweat. Ling Tian sighed wearily. Ugh, I'm exhausted. It's really hard to play the role of the evil ancestor. The system appeared. Side mission complete. Host has successfully taught Trantuet the intermediate level of the Qinglian Heart Sutra, the lower volume. Reward points, 1,000 points. Trantuet received the sword gifted by the host, expressing her gratitude. The master-disciple bond grows stronger. Reward points, 200 points. Ling Tian's expression immediately became cheerful. Then, his eyes shifted, a wicked expression revealing malice. Amazing, 1,200 points added to my account. I'm definitely going to win this time. Let's see my amazing skills. Without hesitation, Ling Tian quickly reached out and pressed his hand on the prize box. Suddenly, the system appeared again. The system announced, the evil disciple Truck Hung Tu has corrupted the reputation of the Min Jiao. Deducting 1080 reward points. As soon as he finished reading, Ling Tian's excitement was replaced by fury. His whole body radiated murderous intent. His eyes blazed with anger, and he growled out the name. Truck Hung Tu. Outside the hall, Truck Hung Tu was happily playing his flute. He was carrying a heavy pole on his shoulder, beaming with pride. This time, he was sure to complete the mission perfectly. Who knows, maybe his master would be happy and give him a top-grade elixir. But before he could savor his joy for long, a dark figure suddenly appeared before him. It was Trantuet. Seeing her sudden appearance, he asked, Little junior sister, were you waiting for me? She didn't seem to care much and looked at him, then got straight to the point. You're finally back. Master is looking for you. He put his hand to his chin, secretly delighted. Oh? Master is rushing to find me like this. Does this mean the reward is ready? He then lowered the pole on his shoulder and asked Trantuet, Come on, little junior sister, this load is bothering you. I'll go see Master now. On Ling Tian's side. Right now, Truck Hung Tu is bowing to him. Master, I'm back. I've finished my task and brought back daily supplies that should last us 3 months. I also got some. But before he could finish, thunder roared from the sky. He looked up, his expression incredibly ugly. This familiar sound, could it be heavenly thunder? Realizing the truth, Truck Hung Tu quickly bowed and begged. His body trembled uncontrollably with fear. Master, I brought the supplies as you ordered. Why are you punishing me like this? Ling Tian's eyes hardened, and a powerful aura of killing intent enveloped him. He asked angrily, Tell me, how did you get those supplies? Truck Hung Tu's face turned pale, and he stammered. About that. Ling Tian raised his hand to the sky, his face cold as he spoke. The Xianming sect is no longer the Xianming sect of the past. Their evil deeds cannot be forgiven. Seeing this, Truck Hung Tu panicked and knelt before him, kowtowing and begging. Master, please show mercy. I won't dare to do it again next time. I truly cannot bear this celestial thunder. Ignoring his pleas, Ling Tian kept his hand raised, looking at him with a cold gaze. Then, he pointed his hand towards Truck Hung Tu and said loudly, "Strike!" The moment his voice ended, a powerful celestial thunder descended from the heavens, striking him. Below, Tran Tuet's footsteps approached. Standing before Truck Hung Tu's charred body, she covered her mouth in surprise. Seeing him motionless, she asked, "Master, is he dead?" Ling Tian stood facing her and said, explaining his reasons. "I sent him down the mountain to buy things, but he used an improper way." Then, he looked down and ordered, "Bury him." The system popped up again unexpectedly. Then, the system announced, "Main mission complete. Congratulations to the host for successfully completing the first step in cleaning the house and tidying up the family. Reward points, 5,000 points. After reading it, Ling Tian was surprised to the point of spitting blood. He glanced at the system with an extremely disgusted expression, then thought to himself, 5,000 points. The main mission reward is really generous." Below, as Tran Tuet checked the man's body and saw that he was still breathing, she asked, "Master, it seems like he's still alive. Are we going to bury him?" Ling Tian looked down. Countless questions also appeared in his mind. He silently wondered, isn't the meaning of cleaning the house to kill traitors? But clearly this Truck Hung Tu is not dead. Why is the mission already completed? Then he looked at Tran Tuet and said, "Tran Tuet, you still have one heavenly spirit Yuan Qi pill I gave you before, right?" She replied sincerely, "Yes." Seeing this, Ling Tian made a request, "Give it to him." His words surprised her, and she exclaimed, "What?" Seeing her surprised, Ling Tian said, "Don't be sorry, I'll refine some more for you when I have time." Tran Tuet looked up and asked, "Disciple dares not. This life of mine belongs to Master. Not to mention the pill, even my life, I will dedicate it." It's just that disciple is a bit confused. Master ordered the attack. But why did you end up saving him? He explained, the reason for the attack was because he was wrong. He should have been punished severely. But he was saved because he was involved in the matter of the Xianmin sect's rift. She was extremely surprised and exclaimed, "What? The Xianmin sect was betrayed?" But it's true, the Xianmin sect has such great power, and Master's strength is also so tyrannical. If there wasn't someone behind the scenes scheming to betray them, they wouldn't be able to split the Xianmin sect. Ling Tian closed his eyes gently, his face calm as he stated his wish. "Since enduring the 1,000-year tribulation, I don't have a clear memory of what happened back then. Visit today for the latest information on the story. I want you to secretly inquire about what happened that year from your senior brother, Truck Hung Tu." Tran Tuet didn't question further and readily obeyed. "Master, don't worry. This disciple will do my best," he instructed. "Remember, don't rush, just take your time and inquire." She replied yes. After finishing his instructions, Ling Tian ordered, "All right. Go and do your work." Tran Tuet respectfully bowed. "This disciple is taking leave." Everyone started leaving. After they left, only Truck Hung Tu remained lying motionless on the ground. He continued to lie motionless, without any reaction. After a while, he gradually regained consciousness. Truck Hung Tu couldn't believe that this heavenly thunder was much stronger than the last. But what surprised him even more was his master's heavenly spirit Yuan Qi. Whether it was the medicinal properties or the therapeutic effect, or even the spiritual power contained within, it was unparalleled. Truck Hung Tu seemed to feel a stream of immortal saints' spiritual power flowing through his body. If this is really a pill that my master refined, then my master's cultivation level must have reached the highest level of martial immortal. On Ling Tian's side, the system suddenly appeared. The system announced, Truck Hung Tu's loyalty, minus 70% reduced to minus 40%. Reward points, 500 points. Looking at the system's notification, he put his hand on his chin and pondered, why is his loyalty still negative? It seems this little guy only submits because he is afraid of my power. But the most important thing now is tomorrow's battle. System, open the shop, he commanded. Looking at the shopping cart on the system, his eyes lit up. He smiled and exclaimed, "The price is so good. This is perfect." With a happy heart, he reached out and clicked on the shopping cart. Now I am a super rich man. But when the item appeared, he froze. The price is so high. Despite his frustration, he decided to buy it anyway and comforted himself. Well, it's still cheaper than buying the original price area card, the system asked. Host has successfully purchased the high-grade area card and received a special skill card. Do you want to use the area card immediately? Ling Tian replied. Use. His body was suddenly enveloped in a purple energy. At the same time, the system displayed 522 centimeters 1,322 centimeters. After being upgraded, he extended his hand in front of him and smiled. A 13-meter range should be enough to handle the battle situation. His eyes glanced towards the large rock beside him. Ling Tian raised his hand. After a few brief seconds, the rock began to shake. Finally, under his control, it easily lifted off the ground. With Ling Tian's control, the massive rock was suspended in midair. He quickly turned serious, clenching his fist. The huge rock suddenly shattered into countless small fragments. Then, Ling Tian opened his palm again and raised it. The fragments of the rock followed his command, racing towards each other and forming a spiral. Ling Tian's face darkened as he raised 2 fingers and pointed towards the ground. Following his command, the fragments of the rock descended upon the nearby lake one after another. The force of their impact caused the water in the lake to splash and spray, falling like a downpour. Ling Tian smirked, his eyes sharp as he declared, "Tomorrow, those Yulam Duong thugs will experience the true power of the Absolute Zone." Evening. Truck Hung Tu lounged on the roof, his legs crossed comfortably. He opened his eyes and spoke coldly. "Tomorrow's battle against Yulam Duong is a golden opportunity for us. We must get this information to our friend before sunrise. Failure is not an option, they must die." Beside him stood a girl with purple hair and a wine-red outfit. She extended her hand in front of him, sincerely saying, "As you command, master." A night had passed in a flash, and dawn was breaking. Tran Tuet, lying on the bed, exclaimed, "Oh, it's morning already?" Her eyes held a mix of astonishment and shock. Realizing she was running late, she sorrowfully burrowed herself under the blanket, tossing and turning. The thought of going to the Yulam sect filled her with anxiety, keeping her from sleeping. "Oh no, I'll definitely get master involved." Wah! A moment later, Tran Tuet was holding a cup of tea with a very awkward expression. Relying on you, bro. This is tea, strong tea made by Tran Tuet. Taste 1 star, strength 5 stars. On the other side, Zhuang Xingtu was incredibly excited. He flung open the door and shouted, "Good morning, master and junior sister. Let's go wipe out the Yulam sect." But he was met with an empty scene, not a single soul in sight. Seeing this, his face turned pale, filled with dejection. Indeed, they never intended to take him along from the start. At this moment, Tran Tuet entered from outside, asking in annoyance, "What are you shouting about so early in the morning? Don't you worry about waking up master?" Seeing her appearance, Truck Hung Tu turned around and looked at her with surprise, accompanied by immense joy. "You're still here, junior sister?" Then, he followed up with a saucy question, asking why her eyes were so dark and sunken. Was she worrying so much last night that she couldn't sleep? Tran Tuet responded with annoyance, "I shouldn't have given you the remaining pill yesterday." Truck Hung Tu continued, "Your kindness yesterday. I will always remember it in my heart. If there's anything I can help you with, just tell me." She replied coldly, "You'd be a great help if you just kept your mouth shut." From the side, Lang Tian suddenly walked up. Both of them bowed their heads in reverence, greeting their master. "Good morning, master." Seeing his disciples all present, Lang Tian commanded, "It's time, let's go." Suddenly, Truck Hung Tu spoke up, suggesting, "Master, how do we get to Yulam Street? After all, my junior sister's cultivation is only at the early stage of the Martial King. She can't keep up with us. Let me go ahead and take care of it. After all, saving people is important." Meanwhile, Tran Tuet stood beside him, looking incredibly annoyed. Ling Tian looked at Truck Hung Tu and replied, "No need, Tran Tuet will come with me. We can reach Yulam Street before finishing half a cup of tea." His expression shocked. As if he couldn't believe it, he exclaimed, "What? Before finishing half a cup of tea? How is that even possible?" A strange sound came from outside. Truck Hung Tu looked towards the door curiously and asked, What sound is that?" To satisfy his own curiosity, he went outside to check the situation. As he looked up, his eyes widened. It was, seeing the mythical beast soaring through the sky, he couldn't help but exclaim in shock, a natural-born mythical beast, a divine-grade Chongming bird. The mythical beast quickly landed on the ground. He was standing high above, watching Ling Tian and Tran Tuet walking towards the divine beast. He was astonished, his eyes widened in disbelief. The laughingstock of his master? Below, Ling Tian looked at the divine beast and suggested, "Tran Tuet, let's ride on the Ming bird together." Tran Tuet didn't refuse, but shyly thanked him. "Thank you, master!" At the same time, Truck Hung Tu was rushing down from above at lightning speed. As he charged towards them, he shouted, "Master! I'm coming too!" However, his speed was too slow. By the time he arrived, the divine beast had already taken flight. He could only kneel, his expression incredibly desperate and pitiful. In the sky, the divine beast was peacefully spreading its wings. Tran Tuet sat on its back, looking around with excitement. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. "Master, little junior sister, do you remember me?" It was Truck Hung Tu, riding on his sword. He quickly rushed forward, flying alongside the divine beast and mockingly said, "This Chongming bird, though a natural divine beast, isn't very fast." Haha! Seeing himself being belittled, Chongming glared at him, his eyes filled with anger. Seeing the divine beast's reaction, Ling Tian reminded her, Tran Tuet, hold on tight. She respectfully obeyed, yes yes. As soon as his voice died down, the divine beast shot forward like a missile, leaving him far behind in just a few seconds. Watching the divine beast disappear from sight, he stood there frozen. Scene changes to a different location. Now, Ling Tian and Tran Tuet stood before the entrance of the Yulam Road. Ling Tian looked at Tran Tuet beside him and instructed, get ready to make a big commotion, Tran Tuet. Her expression became serious. As you command, master. She moved away from the gate. Then, charging forward, she used her sword to destroy it. Having broken through the gate, she looked inside, her eyes widening in shock. It was a massive group of soldiers, armed and ready behind the gate. The leader of the soldiers had a ferocious expression. He looked at them and roared. The master has ordered, anyone who dares to enter, kill without mercy. Then, like a swarm of ants, the soldiers charged out. Facing their overwhelming numbers, Tran Tuet observed, feeling a touch of worry. She thought to herself. So many people, the leader yelled. Prepare to die. But before he could approach, he suddenly felt his body become strange. He froze, his entire body seeming to turn to ice. He thought to himself, I can't move. What's happening? Ling Tian suddenly appeared from behind. He looked at the soldiers, his face full of anger as he said in a harsh voice, You little shrimps, dare you block my path? Immediately, half of the soldiers in front suddenly knelt down, kowtowing before the two of them, to the utter bewilderment of those behind them. Those at the back, seeing their comrades acting like this, became extremely angry and shouted, What are you doing up front? If you're scared of death, just get out of here. You may not want promotion and riches, but I do. Get out. In contrast to the soldiers' chaos, Ling Tian's expression remained calm. He reached behind him, ready to step forward. Let's go.